Kelvin, they're not telling us the truth about what's going on. I would love to know how many of these local authorities, whether they're London boroughs or leafy counties, also have more than double the supposed number of asylum seekers.
There's a series of councils around the country that are actually pursuing the government through the courts right now to say you can't just come along to us, Cambridge is one of them, and dump thousands or hundreds or even 50 onto us without us being involved in the decision making. For two reasons. One, for instance, Cambridge says, well, we're quite an attractive tourist spot.
Yeah.
He said, and the hotels that you have chosen to put these people in are ones which we would normally expect tourists to come in. And when the tourists do see people of a different hue wandering around doing nothing because they're not allowed to work, the migrants, correctly, right, then they're not going to feel very comfortable. So there are a lot of issues. That issue there is literally incredible, incredible, because I haven't read about it anywhere else. So to have 4,000 people in 600 rooms in a hotel that we knew nothing about is an absolute scandal. And it was going on anywhere. In North Wales, there's a bit, no, it's not North Wales, I think it's more like Central Wales, but it's very Welsh Wales. There's a village of about 250 people, and they're going to dump about another 300 migrants onto them. And the locals have no say in any of this. Why doesn't this government, why doesn't a Labour government, because we might as well talk about them going to become in power, what is anybody doing about this? This is year in, year out, day in, day out.
You know, we've just had the 5th anniversary of Grenfell Tower. This hotel is basically Grenfell Tower with room service. I mean, you've got far more people. I mean, at some point, Patrick, doesn't all these philosophical discussion of the European Convention on Human Rights, isn't it all the reality is way beyond all that now?
I think so. I mean, I despair of Rishi Sunak's regime. He's only half-heartedly, it seems to me, supported Suella Braverman, who wants to try and grasp the nettle here. He's even made it possible for Keir Starmer to appear to be outflanking him on the patriotic right, which is some achievement. He's swanned off spending all our money at COP27. Next week, he seems to be getting Jeremy Hunt primed to tax all the money from people who work hard and give it to people who don't. But this, I really think culturally, the elite Tories don't get the affront to people all across Britain, because some of the hotels they've taken over, I know a couple of them quite well. There's the Prime Hotel opposite Stoke-on-Trent railway station. At Hull, there's a posh hotel at the station, the sort of place where your great aunt would have taken you for a Sunday high tea on your birthday.
Now you're
completely handed over, you know, with almost zero consultation with the local population to young men of different, cultures, destroying the civic pride of these towns and cities. And this government, this latest administration, appears as lackadaisical, as Boris Johnson was on it. And it was one of the reasons why no one from the 2019 electorate stood up for him. They left him to the Kate Gate inquisitors because he had let them down on this issue.
Well, when you say that, Jeremy Hunt is going to take money from the working population, give it to those who don't, I mean, at least in the old days, they used to be giving it to your compatriot deadbeats who were just sitting around. Now we're basically taking money from working people, giving it to this guy from Erbil who comes from a hugely wealthy family in Erbil, and we're paying him. Kelvin, you are a legend of the golden age of Fleet Street, and I don't know whether
Nicely said, though. Nicely said.
I don't know whether this was one of yours, but we all remember when Jim Callaghan was at the G7 meeting in the Caribbean, and the famous headline, "Crisis, what crisis?" as he was in his bathing shorts in the West Indies. It's exactly the same now with Rishi Sunak at COP27. Why don't they get the crisis, what crisis headlines?
Do you know what? To be tough is now considered vile politics. And yet, what I suspect the voter wants is they want tough leadership. So they want it on this issue. They have never had it. This is now what? This is now 3 years, really, 3 to 4 years of it, right? So we got Just Stop Oil, just decided, right, the major commercial route of our country, every working man, everybody going on holiday, everybody going to a funeral, anybody going to a hospital, right? Nothing happens there, right? The police say, well, I'm not sure. And then we have nurses going on strike. In my lifetime, the idea that they can move from angels to what they're going to, the idea that they would do nothing.
Clap for carers.
Yeah,
where did all the carers go?
Right. So what we have now is that no politician feels they can be tough because they feel they will lose the election and they'll lose the voters. The actual reverse is true. And I wonder at what... So Rishi is going to be thrown out in exactly the same way as either Liz was going to be or Boris might... Yes, he was probably going to get slung out as well. So we don't... Why is it? What has happened to the politics of it all? They'll probably get some rather clever person come in. Oh, you don't understand this, Mark. You da-di-da-di-da-da-di-da-da. So this conversation, right, so how long have you been saying... this is quite a really good exclusive piece of television, right? So how long have you been now talking about this on your show? What, for a year, is it?
It's getting on.
Year,
it's
18
getting
months.
on for a year, and when you're getting up... And the 1,000 a night, that's on the dinghies. The one guy we were talking to, he came over in a lorry. There's others who came in. Some of them just fly in. Some of them, like the daughter of a marquis doing the grand tour in 1892, have their luggage sent on ahead, which is all these desperate people. They've got no possession. They've got no possessions because their steamer trunks were flown in ahead of them doing the dinghy ride.
So on the version of that, so the Times this morning, excellent piece of reportage, kind of tucked away, I presume, because they don't want to be associated with any racial that, made the point that what the Albanians are doing is they're using their pins, their digital pins on their phones to show where they are, and they come in off the boats, they run like bloody fury, and then they get picked up by either vans, trucks or cars and disappear into the system. Now, I suspect that system... I'm sorry if there's a member of the Albanian embassy watching this show. I suspect that there might be some criminality associated with the system. But this is what's going on.
Totally Albanophobic, that. There's only a very small number of them are in the drugs and prostitution business.